Welcome, everyone. My name is Kimberly Arn. I'm a consultant with the LA County Department of Arts and Culture, Arts Ed Collective.
Hello, everyone. I'm Peggy Burt, also an arts education consultant. So we wanted to open with this quote because we believe that creative planning, strategic planning is really leadership development. A genuine leader is not a searcher for consensus, but a molder of consensus. I love this quote by Martin Luther King Jr. because it really shows how we facilitate and hold space for the group to come to consensus.
And so as you engage with this module, by the end of this presentation, you will have experience with and know how to utilize the focus conversation, develop a victory circle, assess your current reality, your assets and your challenges, create key actions, and identify priorities for moving forward.
The methods that we use are based on a method called TOP, the Technology of Participation, developed by a global nonprofit called the Institute of Cultural Affairs. They use these methods to really invite participation from all voices. The participatory values that are brought forward in our TOPS methods start out with a very important one: to slow down.
Trust the process.
Stay with the question.
Honor and welcome each voice.
Let others talk before you speak again.
Limit crosstalk.
Discuss programs and concepts, not people.
Listen with respect and assume good intent.
The outcome will be greater than the sum of the parts.
And so in this presentation, you'll be introduced to 4 different strategies. First one being the focus conversation. The next strategy will be understanding how to conduct a victory circle, and then also strengths and challenges, identifying key actions and grouping those actions into strategies, and then once again, dropping strategies into a priority wedge. So sequencing the priorities for moving forward.
One of the key methods that we use is deep reflective conversations. This is an art. The art of focused conversation is a multi-tiered approach that allows the group to discover consensus through deep, thoughtful reflection. Moving in an intentional direction really requires the group to think deeply about where they want to go and what they want to achieve together. To structure a focused conversation, it's really quite a human process that, we sit down when we have these conversations. We imagine we're sitting across a table having a cup of coffee together. But we want to really focus so that we have meaningful dialogue, that the ideas become quite clear. We want everyone in the group to participate so all voices are heard. We know that there can be more than one answer, more than one way. So a focused conversation really allows those perspectives to come forward. And it really cultivates the ground. It prepares a group to move toward consensus. The steps in this process are to define the topic clearly, set the purpose. We call that rational aim. What are you trying to accomplish? We also set the group experience. This really takes into consideration the experience of the group and often is quite a deep connection. We want to identify questions at each of 4 levels. So the structure goes from objective to reflective to interpretive to decisional. We call that ORID, O-R-I-D. When we create a focused conversation and develop the sample topic, Kimberly and I decided that we would look at how we're going to incorporate arts-based social emotional learnings into the classroom, which I know is a very timely topic for a lot of us. The rational aim was going to really be detail the concrete ways, how to provide professional learning, how to bring together partners and resources. But the feeling for the group is really one of getting excited to build momentum for healing and well-being. So we think this is an exciting topic to explore together. The first level is objective, really just the facts, the what. We get the facts, we develop a common understanding. We think of one thing we recalled or one word or phrase that stood out when we think about what do we know about social emotional learning already? What do we want to bring forward? One easy way to think about objective level or just the facts in the human experience is when we're waking up to the sound of an alarm. And we first think, what? And the what in that case, of course, is the alarm goes off. We use our senses, our hearing.
The next level is the reflective level, the gut level. The emotions start to rise. How do I feel about getting up this morning after the alarm clock is going on? It's not only emotions, but memories and associations. And at this level, that's exactly what's being explored. Connection, emotions, and how one feels about a situation.
At the interpretive level, we think, what does this mean? This is the meaning making, discovering possibilities, moving into rational thinking. The purpose is really to understand the implications. So in our alarm clock analogy, we have to decide, so what do I do now? Do I get up or do I hit the snooze?
And the fourth level is the decisional. Now what? Now that I've taken in the data, I've processed my feelings, I've made meaning and moved through the interpretation. Now it's time to move into action. And at this level, we make a commitment. At the decisional level, we discuss what are we going to do about it? What do we need to prioritize? What decisions are we making? And how are we moving forward? So at this level, we wanted to share sample topics for action planning, focused conversations. And through this presentation, we are going to be exploring the top example, delivering SEL and arts integration strategies, social emotional learning. So when we look at this first stage of creating a focused conversation, you want to make sure that, as we explained, the 4 different levels: objective, reflective, interpretive, and decisional. What, gut, so what, now what? At each one of those levels, you want to create questions to engage your group. And on this slide are examples of questions that you can create for each level. So moving into the processes that we got, the strategies and stages. In stage 2, we've got the victory circle and strengths and challenges. Now that you've completed a focused conversation, you want to begin to move from that conversation into what will success look like for us? What are we envisioning as being evidence of success? So the victory circle is the strategy that supports that. And then you create another circle and begin to look at the assets of your community and also some of the challenges that you might encounter in moving towards your victory. Here on this slide, you'll see an example of the victory circle and the strengths and challenges, just to give you a sense of what that process might look like when you're facilitating it with a group.
The next stage is to identify the key actions and group them into strategies. So we, based on our victory circle, our vision, as well as our assets and our challenges, we want to create ideas that move forward into action. We have an example here of what soft ideas and hard ideas might look like. We're basing this off of what actions can address our challenges and move us towards our victory circle. We find that when actions are written that directly impact our challenges, we can root out underlying causes and conditions and really create transformative change. You can see here how the soft ideas are general and the hard ideas are quite concrete. We have a Jamboard workspace to show you what it looks like when you cluster strategies and action ideas together. Here's a Jamboard where we have the question highlighted: what strategies will address our challenges and move us towards our victory? And then you can see that the green Post-it notes, sticky notes, are the big ideas, and the yellow notes are the smaller ideas. So we cluster those together and we start to create a shape of actions that will move us forward. We've brought the victory circle and the strengths and challenges onto this Jamboard so it can be referred to as we're writing the actions.
So now that you've moved through identifying your strategies, it's time to place those strategies into the priority wedge. And so what we have here are the steps to dropping those strategies into the priority wedge that answer the questions: what do we need to focus on? What strategy will be the leading edge to leverage our opportunities? So one way to think of the priority wedge is that it's a roadmap that's supporting you with moving forward into your desired future. So here on this slide is an actual example of a priority wedge. And what you see in the front of the wedge is the priority that seems to be the key for unlocking everything else. What goes in the front is that which is the catalyst for other actions to come right behind it. So we sequence the priority wedge with the top priority going in the front. The second tier is the second tier of priorities, and the last section of the priority wedge is the third tier priorities that will be activated as a result of everything else that has come before it. So sequencing is important in the process of moving forward.
So that was a brief overview and introduction. We believe that as a leader, if you move through a process like this, every voice will be heard. Your team will have an opportunity to share their voice and contribute to an action plan to move forward through consensus. After you've conducted your priority wedge strategy, you might want to conduct a focused conversation to reflect. What does this lead us to? How can we move forward?
And so now as we come to the end, we want you to stay inspired. We know that this is work that we're all passionate about, but it's also work. So I would love to just end with this quote: "Lift up your hearts. Each new hour holds new chances for new beginnings."
Thank you so much.